Backstage, the show that looks inside local live theater and talks about upcoming productions that you can go see. I'm Nina Perry, and I'm your host. The Pear Theater is presenting the play Geeks vs. Zombies by James Cope and David Rock at the Pear Theater in Mountain View from December 2nd through December 18th. Today on Peninsula Backstage, we'll start by talking with John Morrison, co-director of Geeks vs. Zombies, and James Cope, co-director, co-writer, actor, and more. And later we'll meet some of the other actors involved with the production. John and James, welcome to Peninsula Backstage.
Thank you for having us.
It's wonderful to be here.
Thank you for being here. So without giving too much away, tell us about Geeks vs. Zombies.
Okay. Geeks vs. Zombies is a play that me and Dave Rock wrote back in 2010. It's a play about the zombie apocalypse happens. The dead rise from the grave, nothing short of biblical proportions, and start feasting on the flesh of the living. A group of friends that are obsessed with zombie and horror movies survive because they've seen all the zombie movies and they're using that as knowledge to deal with the new environment.
Okay.
That pretty much covers it. That's pretty all-encompassing.
All right. So zombie stories have grown in popularity recently. So what do you think the appeal is today of this genre or subgenre? And how does Geeks vs. Zombies fit into the larger zombie literature?
That's a good question, especially because we spent a lot of time in this play talking about the progression of zombie films. Like, what would you say is the first one that got it started?
Well, I mean, the zombies date back to voodoo culture, so there is the Bela Lugosi white zombie, kind of, you got to give that credit. However, it was George R. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, which was inspired by Richard Matheson's I Am Legend. I researched way too much into zombie culture to write this play, so I know about, but that George Romero's film Night of the Living Dead was the first time we had zombies that didn't have a leader. There was no voodoo leader, somebody controlling it. They were just mindless, walking dead, feasting on the flesh of the living. Okay. And a lot of rules were set up from there. Like if you were bitten or died, you became one. Okay. So, which a lot of people took as a sort of a parallel to talk about the fear of communism or the fear of racism. Even one person gets bit, you know, you're not a communist, but if you have communist friends, then you're just part of that group. So a lot of people saw a lot of depth in it. Wonderful, quick side note, funny story, is the movie stars this super talented African-American actor. And so at the time in the 60s, it became this huge cultural thing, which was done absolutely on accident. George Romero just cast the best actor, who just happened to be black. And so it was, and he's got wonderful lines like, I control what happens here, you can go down to the basement and control what happens there. And so there's been a lot of wonderful African-American artists that have said, like, I was watching that movie was so important to me that a black man told a white man, stop it, I'm in charge right now, you need to knock it off. And that was like one of the first times that happened in even a cult film, but a cult film that was able to be distributed to the whole nation.
So it resonates in a sense with society because you have people that are like, people who are struggling against a massive thing that's oppressing them, that they're all coming out. Like, well, a film that I really enjoy is Shaun of the Dead. Yeah. And I really appreciate how they put the parallels of how people get stuck in just the pedantic life, just getting caught up in their routine and just over and over again before they know it. They're just basically zombies, whether or not, you know, even though they're not undead, you know what I mean? So I feel that people see themselves as those heroes fighting against all odds coming at them, and that's very appealing to them, much like the superhero films that are very popular these days.
Right, right. All right. So zombies can represent one of many things, if we're talking metaphorically.
And what we talk about in the play is something that I feel after doing like I said, way too much research on zombie films and zombie literature, is a lot of them, the slow-moving zombies. I know with Hollywood now we have a lot of fast-moving, crazy, what we call super zombies. The slow-moving zombies, for a lot of people, represent death. Okay. Death is slowly inching towards us. You can make the greatest fort, you can make a house all secured, you can go to the mall and lock all the gates. Death will still get in and eventually get to you. Okay. So what do you do with your time before death slowly gets to us?
Wow. So I had sort of been envisioning that this play was a comedy. Is it a comedy?
Sure.
Okay.
If you can't laugh in the face of the worst thing coming at you, there's no
right.
point at all.
There you go. There you go. So James, what was your inspiration for writing the play?
Well, this goes back to me and the co-writer Dave Rock were working at a small black box theater in Bakersfield, California called The Empty Space. And he was like, I would like to do like a Halloween style play around October and see if that generates more interest outside. So many times with theaters, you're feeding your same subscription base. And most theaters really believe in their content. Like if I could get anybody to watch one of the shows here, I bet they would be so pleased with the product we gave them that they might come back. So then it became, well, could we do something that was what we call casting a wider net? Something that I would never go to theater. Why would I go see something dumb like that when the movie is cheaper and there's millions of dollars spent on it? And that's a fair argument. I really do think so. And we originally thought like there is a Night of the Living Dead stage version. Because of some legal issues, it fell into public domain back in the mid-'80s. So anybody, by the way, can remake Night of the Living Dead. Anybody can do a stage play of Night of the Living Dead. You can write that Night of the Living Dead musical. You've been waiting on. You could do you can do anything you want with Night of the Living Dead. Unfortunately, because it's a shame that those talent stars don't still.
But gosh,
retain it.
it's fun to do your own thing and have your own original story. A thing that I really love about this play is it's very like James and I have known each other since 1992. Absolutely, the characters in this play are inspired by our group of friends, and so it's a lot of what attracted me working on it was knowing that this was in a sense telling our story about how we would try to deal with these things, and that appealed to me a great deal.
Yeah, and it's also if you so we were talking about doing Night of the Living Dead, but if you do a play on a famous movie. Sometimes it's really hard for the audience not to think about the famous movie. So one of my favorite plays of all time is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But it's really hard to go watch it and not think about Jack Nicholson and that Nurse Ratched, you know, because they are so perfect. So that's always been one of the. So I was like, if we do Night of the Living Dead, all we're doing is kind of painting ourselves in that corner that we got to do all the same beats they did. And if we're going up against a classic, you almost always lose.
Right.
So then it became, why don't we do something original, something that was from us and something that we thought would say something. So.
What can be done in a zombie story done on a stage that can't be done in film? So how will zombie fans, zombie literature fans get a different audience experience by coming to see the play?
Well, just the key difference between film and theater in general is that nothing ever beats something that's live. It can't, as beautiful and wonderful as a film can be, you can't replicate the experience of actually being in a room with another person. So as exciting as shows like The Walking Dead and all that would be, imagine being in a room where you actually have the people there and they're experiencing the drama and they're fighting for their lives and like it's experience. I always do a Star Wars reference where I talk about the difference between film and theater. Like, do not put your faith in this technological terror you've created. It doesn't compare to the Force. Like the Death Star is awesome, blow up a planet. You like global media can reach everybody all the time, but nothing will ever compare to that moment of being in the room with someone and experiencing that together.
Right.
And even like the most basic of understanding is like with high definition television, you could see the Aurora Borealis anywhere in the world. To be there watching the Aurora Borealis is probably a different experience. I've never experienced that, but with this play in particular, I really noticed it because we have a couple zombie battles, as you might expect in the show, where zombies show up and the geeks must fight them, and action ensues. And at one point in one of the zombie battles during the first production, I had fallen down in the scene. I fall down, and a zombie is coming near me. I could see the audience's feet, and the audience were kicking their feet away, which I'd never seen that in a show. So obviously this thing was coming so close, they then sort of almost animal-like instincts of, I need to get away from this. Yeah. So I think that helps, the tension.
Yeah. All right. I think we should see a scene from this play performed by some of the actors.
Fabulous.
And one of those actors is James himself, and your character's name is McCready.
Yes.
All right, so I would like to thank you for being interviewed here on Peninsula Backstage, and I will now excuse you from interview duty, so you
All
can go
right.
get set.
Thank you very much.
And John, I'll excuse you in a moment as well because you're going to be involved in the
Yes.
scene. But what would you like to tell us about the scene before we watch?
So this scene takes place after the zombie apocalypse is in full bloom, and they're in survival mode. And this scene is about talking about what their priorities are. Once everything's at risk and everything's gone, what is it that's important for them to preserve? What comes to mind? And yes, I do have a little bit of a cameo,
Right.
so I better go.
All right, thank you. Let's watch.
Well, this is just great.
If you wanted us to load up on food, you should have said something back at the mall.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you idiots would have some common sense. Why did you pack your backpack full of DVDs?
Is anyone in there? I need help.
DVDs, old man? Those are Blu-ray Criterion editions. Check them, every one. You know how hard it is to find Brazil? And I found it. You keep being rude and I won't let you borrow any.
Please, I see you in there. Oh, please, they're coming for me.
And watch them on what?
They're Blu-rays. You put them in a Blu-ray player.
Oh, please. Oh, no.
And I brought food.
Yeah, candy bars. Not even good candy bars.
Whoa, I brought fast breaks. And I brought like 60 of them. And you know what? If you don't want any, that's fine. More for me.
Techno music has rotted your brain. Fast breaks are horrible.
Well, they are my favorite. And after seeing Zombieland, I'm not about to spend my last days hunting for them.
I'm sorry, Loomis. At least you brought food.
Hey, where's your food?
Ha! I brought the medical kit, the cigarettes, and the flashlight, which I said 2 days before we left the mall.
Ah, well, eat one of your cigarettes and shut your face.
We could eat Milo.
I'm in the room.
No. If we start eating each other, then we're no better than the zombies.
Say, I was thinking that we should, I have some stuff to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Huh, great. Candy bars and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. If I was in the 3rd grade, this would be awesome.
Say, guys, I thought I heard something just now. Did you guys hear anything?
I didn't hear anything.
It's probably just the wind. I wouldn't worry myself about it.
Oh, all right. Are you sure you don't want to sleep in the bunks?
No way. We gotta stay close to the door, just in case.
Well, I think I'm going to sleep in the bed if you don't mind. My back.
No, that's fine, Milo. That's fine.
Oh, peanut butter and jelly? Peanut butter and jelly? Peanut butter and jelly? All right.
What are you writing?
Lists and facts.
Of what?
You know when we were going through the sewer and you guys made me look out the manhole cover to see if we were outside the city yet?
Oh, yeah, that was pretty messed up.
I saw the library on fire.
So what? Lots of buildings were on fire.
That's just it. What if everything burns? What if every book, every computer, every work of art is burned away? The history of mankind would be washed away by fire. Whoever comes next won't know anything about us, what we were, what we wanted to be, how bad Star Trek V was.
That's a good idea, Blair.
Yeah.
What do you got so far?
Well, I know more about movies than anything else, so I figured I'd start there. I'm making 2 lists, one of the greatest, one of the worst.
What's on the best?
Citizen Kane, Rear Window, New Hope, Empire, Jedi, Force Awakens, all of the even Star Trek movies, plus the new one and beyond. The Dark Knight, and the Avengers.
Yeah.
But, good stuff.
What's on the worst list?
The Spirit, Mars Attacks, RoboCop 3, Transformers 2, The Godfather 3, The Dark Knight Rises, pretty much all the remakes, minus The Thing and The Fly. That kind of stuff. But some of them are kind of hard.
Like what?
Well, like Independence Day. I mean, that movie's both.
Yeah, I vote for worst.
What? Are you out of your mind? That film kicks so much butt. It should be on the best.
No, that whole movie was just a bunch of marketing fanboy nonsense, and the soundtrack was terrible.
Oh my God, I know it's not The Wall, but what about the speech by Bill Pullman, huh?
Lone Star?
Hey, President Lone Star!
Yeah, tell me when you didn't see that speech, you didn't get all in the movie.
It's cheesy, but it's a great speech.
I saw that movie 6 times in the theater, and I got all messy face every time he said that speech.
Fine.
I used to salute the screen, and I was in the military, and I don't salute anybody.
I said fine. Put it
Hey.
on the best movies list.
I hate to be a jerk, but I'm going to have to turn off the generator and let it charge. Besides, I was thinking we should probably not have the lights on at night so we don't draw any unwanted attention.
Smart thinking, Milo. It's very Shaun of the Dead of you.
I don't know what that means, but thank you. Well, good night.
Thanks,
Milo.
Good night, new friends.
Good night,
Milo. Was that a picnic basket?
I miss movie Tuesdays.
I miss new comic book Wednesdays.
I miss free record Fridays.
I miss the internet. I mean, what if we're being honest?
Hey, McCready,
Yeah, Loomis.
do the prospector voice.
Y'all get some sleep now, you hear? We done made it to Fort Matthew. And no undead stands a chance against almighty muskets. Not even the undead Daniel Boone or Sergeant York. You guys are jerks.
Good night, McCready.
Good night, Blair.
Good night, Loomis.
Good night, Wallace.
Woo! Thank you to our actors who gave us a sneak peek into the play Geeks versus Zombies. So we have Nick Mandrakia, who played Wallace, and Max Takis, who
Hello.
played Loomis. And then we're going to be joined soon by Jim Johnson, there he is, who played Milo, and Michael Weiland, who played Blair. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. So tell us about your experience with the scene we just saw, about preparation, or what were the fun parts, what were the challenges?
Yeah, so this scene in specific brings up a bunch of multiple topics that people in normal life would usually talk about. You know, like what's your favorite candy bar, what's your favorite movie, what's your least favorite movie. And with the cast that I've been having the pleasure of working with, we've had a lot of conversations that have sparked in regards to what actually belongs on the list. But we have a predetermined set list that obviously we memorize and we say, and we're looking for some reactions to see what people actually think of the list that we have. So yeah.
And it's a scene that's, you know, in a play called Geeks versus Zombies, you're going to have a lot of fights and a lot of big, intense moments. And so this is kind of the first time that you see these friends who get this moment of levity to just talk. You know, they're in the midst of the zombie apocalypse, and instead now they can kind of rest and talk like they always have. You know, it's kind of the last, I guess, you know, in the end, what all they have really left is these passions for their various, you know, video games or movies or candy bars or what have you. So when there's nothing left, they still at least can hold on to that thing. So they get to talk about it as if nothing's really changed. You know, it's their kind of last moment of humanity.
Okay. Now, Jim, your character Milo, he calls himself a new friend of these guys. So he is not someone who has known them for a long time.
No, he's the caretaker of the fort that they're in. He's a ranger, so he just meets them when they come in, and he's happy because he's separated from his wife, so he lives in the fort, so he likes having people around. Yeah.
Great. And Michael, talk about your character Blair, who's the one that introduces the whole list making.
I mean, it's an important thing if you think about it, because everything that's happening, the world has completely changed, and it's kind of that grasp holding on to what was, and being able to write that list. And I mean, Blair in no way should be the one defining what is right, but he does have this. He thought about it. He wants to write it down. He wants to kind of hold on to what was, and that final hope. That's kind of like I've got this. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to find out what it is, and I'm going to record it so that there's something left. But oddly enough, his is going to survive in his mind.
Okay. And how do you see your characters as distinct from one another? Because you're this group of friends. You obviously have similar interests in terms of the zombie films. So how do you approach, you know, your character, and how do you approach your character to make them, you know, unique?
I mean, each one's kind of got their specialty, which you find when you see the play is like Loomis is the music geek of the group. So, you know, that's his focus. So especially once they start to make the list, they each kind of focus on their specifics. So, you know, Blair says, movies are my thing, so he makes the movie list, you know, and each geek has their, you know, specialty.
Mine's the video game geek. He's been playing video games ever since he was a little kid and understands all of the zombie video games and what weapons to use and things like that. There's also kind of a character trait that each of us have that is really distinct. My character is actually represented by anger. There are certain points in this show where that kind of comes out of him, and that's just kind of what he was born up to be. And each of our characters, luckily, have a distinction that you would be able to see when you see the show that really represents who we are, not only in the zombie apocalypse, but who we've actually grown up to be.
Oh, I remember that James said that the characters represent the stages of grief. So like anger, denial, acceptance. I forget who I am, but anyway. Yeah.
You're Milo.
You're peanut butter. You're the peanut butter and jelly stage.
So Michael, what stage of grief is your character?
Denial is Blair's focus, and it's a fun character to be because he hates everybody, except for McCready. McCready is his like go-to.
Okay. Okay. So, do you think this play has specific resonance in the Silicon Valley, which is home to many proud geeks?
I would argue, yeah. I mean, especially when we start to bring up topics that I think people are going to get pretty passionate about, which, like the list. I mean, we amongst ourselves have argued about the benefits of that list, and we're in the show, so I can't imagine an audience of people going like, "I really like Mars Attacks. No, it should be on the good." I mean, I think even just the kind of pop culture discussions that the play can cause amongst the, aside from just the zombie aspect, are enough to really interest a lot of people.
Yeah, and I would say it's also really relevant just because, like, what would happen if there wasn't Silicon Valley? Like if we only had a certain amount of technology that we would be able to use if we were actually stuck in a fort. Obviously the technology industry is going rapid at a very, very fast pace. And I think it's really important that people can look at it and go, well, what happens if all of the technology that we have today, we actually don't have any of it, and we're stuck using ourselves as human beings? It's a really interesting concept for sure.
Yeah.
Making connections without, any technology or kind of any way to facilitate it other than meeting people, yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, the way we try to survive is we have fast breaks and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Like, it looks like once technology is gone, we have nothing. We don't
really
have a
are not
grasp of
doing
reality.
No oven, it's literally nothing that we can use. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like watching a play, being in a theater. You just have each other,
You're
the
right.
audience
Yeah,
and
you're
the
just
actors.
in it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, yeah. So what drew you to this material, and what sort of research did you do? I mean, were you existing fans of zombie movies and literature, or did you have to kind of learn that?
Oh, can I? Yeah.
Yeah.
We have, one of the problems we have when we rehearse is that we'll go off in these 20-minute conversations about different horror movies and stuff, and then the stage manager has to get us back into rehearsing again.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're all into comic books and horror movies, and
a lot of us had actually also either known each other or worked with each other before too. So for me personally, one of the big draws was I was like, oh, Nick and Michael and Jim and James. Oh, cool. Yeah, no, I'll hang out with my friends. I mean, exactly. So that was a big draw for me. Is I like doing projects with people I like to work with, so that was a big draw for me.
Okay.
Yeah, and you think of the name Geeks versus Zombies, and you sit here and go, well, what kind of contemporary titles really like to draw people? Like, what grabs the attention? You have your typical contemporary plays that you have in today's community theater base, but when you hear the name Geeks versus Zombies, that is not a title that you hear in community live theater at all. You could sit here and go, well, yeah, maybe it's like a TV series, maybe it's a movie, but an actual live play. So that name really drew me, and like Max said, I've known Max since 2011, I've known Mikey since 2011, Jim since 2013, and James since 2014. And we've just come together to realize, like, not only is it about the fun, but what a better way to give out a live play to the community theater basis about zombies, about geeks and things like that you normally wouldn't see in a contemporary play, to come out and do it. Really drew.
In December, mind you.
Right. A lot of other theaters are going to be doing holiday shows.
So for audiences and for actors alike, there's a draw to doing something that's not a Christmas Carol.
Right after Thanksgiving too, so right the week after. So
also there's something inherently funny about watching action movie scenes on stage. They just look so goofy.
So yes, Michael,
Oh yeah, well I mean I had seen a previous play of James's,
Okay.
and it was Supervillain, and I really loved it. I loved every second of it. And it was focused very much on the comic book genre, and it was a bunch of fantastic like in the know jokes, and it was great. And I think everybody loved it who saw it. But when I heard that he had another show of his that he was going to be putting on, I asked if I could read it, and I asked to audition. I kept bugging him. I was like, "Hey James, let me audition," and then Nick for me was going, hey James, let Michael audition. And so eventually I got in there, and I was very happy to be a part of this.
Yeah, great. Well, it sounds like it's going to be a great show,
gonna
and
be
you
a blast.
guys
Yeah.
clearly have a fun rapport working with each other.
Lots of it.
On stools and on the stage.
There's no loss in that.
Oh, great, yeah. So we have about a minute left,
Okay.
so we're going to recap for our viewers that the play Geeks vs. Zombies is running at the Pear Theater in Mountain View from December 2nd through December 18th. And Nick, is there somewhere where our viewers can go online to get more information about the show? A URL?
Yes.
Okay.
Thepair.org.
Very good, thepair.org.
You got it.
Peninsula Backstage is online also. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/peninsula-backstage. Like our page if you're interested in getting updates when new episodes become available for viewing online and on the air. Again, I'd like to thank my guests from the Pear Theater, Nick Mandrakia, Max Takis, Jim Johnson, Michael Weiland, James Cope, and John Morrison. Thanks for being with us today. And to our viewers, thank you. We appreciate your watching this episode of Peninsula Backstage. And remember to go out and support local live theater. Before this all.
Yeah.